first learning that I had of my corporate life and my journey as a marketer. It was very surprising, right? And the journey was that consumers don't really care about our brands. And as a marketer, I was really passionate. I would take my packs and my gifting offers or the chocolate recipes, taglines, and I would show them very excitedly to consumers and say, "What do you think? Does this make sense to you? Do you like it? Should I do this?" And they had no reaction. And they were not interested. I mean, they like all the categories I work with. I work with chocolates, alcohol, biscuits, dairy. Sure, they love my categories. But they don't really care beyond the point about which brand they choose. These decisions about which brand often tends to be subconscious. It's on the back of the mind. They don't care about categories, but a brand that understands them becomes a surrogate of that category. So if Lay's gets you, Lay's understand what you like to do in your free time, chips for you, Lay's. So when consumers don't care about brands, how do we see all those large mega budget campaigns, right? How do brands actually talk to consumers? How do marketers really work their magic? Yeah. And my learning was that you can only do one of two things. These are the only two things you can do. The question is, am I going to invest and grow a category? Am I going to invest in making the pie larger? And when I invest in making the pie larger, everybody gains, including your competition. Or am I looking at taking a slice? Don't take a slice out of the pie. And if you're a large enough player, if you take a small slice, it's not really going to add to too much, right? And hence, you need to be clear. Am I looking at playing within the existing category, just taking a slice of it? Or am I going to invest in growing a category? And believe you me, this might sound simple, these are difficult words. Yeah? And let me talk you through some of my stories where these learnings have really come to me. So I started my journey as a management trainee or as a summer trainee in Coca-Cola. Right? I landed up in Bhubaneswar, and very exciting time for me. I'm in this new city, and I'm seeing stuff around me. And conventionally, sales is difficult, right? Conventionally, you need to go out there and convince retailers, "Hey, please pick up my stock." But not in this case. And I landed up in Bhubaneswar. The category was exploding. It was growing at 70%. The entire category was on fire. Yeah? The distributor is literally sitting huddled up on his counter. What was going on? What had changed? This slightly artificial beverage, Coca-Cola, used to sell at $12. We would have it occasionally, sure we liked it. We would, if on a birthday party, go down to a McDonald's or to a Domino's, right? Only on those occasions we would have a Coke. We do not have a Coca-Cola when we are, say, sitting in a dhaba or having a dosa. That is not really what is done. Then we would have, say, buttermilk, right? We will have juice. We might have a soda. We would not have a cold drink, an aerated drink. What changed all of this? It all changed with Coke's campaign of Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola. It sounds very simple, doesn't it? But what does Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola mean? Thanda Matlab Coca-Cola means that any refresher that you are reaching out to, any time you want to refresh yourself, you're thinking of a buttermilk, you're thinking of a juice, a Coke can do the job really well. That's it. But was it enough? Not really. Coke also innovated and brought in these 200 ml glass bottles. These 200 ml glass bottles allowed them to price their product at just ₹5. At ₹5, suddenly it became so accessible that a consumer wondered, why would I have anything else? I mean that bun down the road, the fresh line seller cannot match this rate. So it was really a combination of penetrative pricing as well as the disruption in terms of their proposition. Right? And that's when I realized something is going on here, something large, because when Coke grew, it didn't just grow by itself. So did Pepsi, so did 7-Up, so did Mirinda. Our entire perception of the aerated beverages category changed. Now, I then went on to join categories, and they probably invented the game when it comes to grow category. And why did they do that? See, India is a very underpenetrated market. An average Indian has only less than a kilo of chocolate in a full year. In a full year, maybe a few of those 10 grams, 20 gram bars is what we consume once in a while. Right? An average European has 10 to 12 kilos of chocolate. In Switzerland, they had 12 kilos of chocolate in 2022 on a full year basis. In US, the number was again between 10 to 11 kilos. Right? So, are Indians that much healthier? Are we so that much fitter? No, we are not. We also have the same 10 kilos of mithai. We have jalebi, we have cham cham, we have kaju katli. Now, if I could convince you on every one of those mithai occasions, don't have that kaju katli, have a little bit of chocolate instead. I could really grow my category of chocolates 10x, right? And that is what we did because in 1994, when this line was created, Kuch Meetha Ho Jaye, that is what it meant. It meant that chocolates are nothing but a modern mithai. I was a part of an ethnographic study where we go out there and meet consumers. We met consumers across the length and the width of the country. We met thousands of consumers. And we did not discuss chocolate with them. We discussed mithai. What is the role of mithai in your life? Right? Somebody who has mithai in the north might have it as a snack. Somebody in the south might have it as offering to gods. Somebody in the west might have it for breakfast. And that circle of mithas that we created allowed us to chip away at mithai, one candle at a time. So we launched Papu Pasoya, which is any celebratory occasion, you can have chocolates. We launched Shubharam because when you're going for an exam, you have some dahi chini, you start something new and something sweet. We did home treats. खाने के बाद कुछ मीठा हो जाए. We also did पहली तारीख, right? Which is any celebrity fun occasion when you are flush with cash, you must reach out for a chocolate, right? And this has really been the mega journey of growing the category. But what is my take on this, right? And that take on this happened when I became the brand manager for category celebrations. And the reason is the brand was not doing well in profits and it had stopped growing for the last 3 to 4 years. So I went out there and I met consumers. I showed them my lovely pack of celebrations with a new design and said, hey, will you buy this? They said, sure. Did you buy this? They said, no. I said, why did you buy this? I mean, isn't this pack so pretty? They said, you know what? When I went shopping, I just didn't think about it. I just didn't think. It didn't come to my mind. And again, I was puzzled. How do I solve this? How do I solve this problem of the consumers just didn't think about my brand? It was just not relevant for their lives. So we decided to, as my leader articulated it, we decided to own the spirit of Diwali. And I asked myself, what does owning the spirit of Diwali mean? I need to understand Diwali because that's where we get bulk of our business from. So we went out there and we met consumers in Bombay and Delhi, and they used to throw these lovely Diwali parties where everybody in the building would come in and they'll have a good time and then they will leave. And I asked them, so do you really know these people? Like, would you reach out to them if you needed some help? They said, not really. And I realized as India went through this journey of liberalization, money in our pockets, we just became that much more insular. We became that much more less caring of our relationships, about navigating time with those loved ones. So then we traveled out to Karenge. And I still remember this incident because it gives me goosebumps each time I think about it, right? Because the landlord would live on the ground floor and the tenant was on the first floor. And there were 3 generations staying together in the tenant's house. So we spent a full day with them. We celebrated a mock Diwali party in the evening. And something that gentleman said stays with me to this day. What he said is that, my sons and my landlord's sons have been going to school together for the last 7 years. Everybody in school thinks they are brothers. That closeness of relationship is not there in the metros, it's not there around us. So we said, can we bring this back? तो इस दिवाली आप इसे खुश करोगे. That is a way in which we genuinely grew the category of gifting, because if you're going to go out there and from the genuineness of your heart make somebody happy, you'll just probably carry some gifting boxes with you. Right? And that is really where the whole task of going into the heart of a category and growing it comes about. Right? But when I was doing this job, and I put the category on fire, we doubled our business in the next 4 years, and not just category celebrations, everybody grew. There was Kurkure gift packs growing, there was a real juice gift packs growing. Suddenly, the entire category of package gifting became a thoughtful gift. And that's the kind of a rub it has. And that's when my director asked me, Saurabh, all this money that you're spending, are you spending this to grow yourself? Or are you growing it using to grow everybody else? And I said, what does that even mean? Could there be a different task that I'm missing? Is there a way in which I don't grow the category, I don't grow only grow anybody else, and I only grow myself? What does this mean? Yeah, and that is where we came to the second section, and that's when I joined Britannia, and I will come to a set of stories which demonstrate what the second task is. But just to summarize what we have sort of learned so far, the task of growing a category talks to the non-user. It talks to the unconverted. So if you want to sell chocolate, you speak to the guy who only has laddus, who never only had chocolates in life. It builds relevance for the category. It says, forget about gifting my pack of celebrations. First go out there and make somebody happy. That act of gifting itself will follow. It's a high investment strategy. There's big money to be placed on the table. It does not come easy. There is a distribution task. It is largely a task which can only be done by a market leader which has got the money to fuel such an opportunity. And the fact that you can fuel it ensures that you get the largest share of the benefit. But what does the other guy do? Right? What does the person who is a challenger do? Right? What does the startup founder do? What do you do if you're going to start your own startup? You might have a different product, a different idea, but maybe there is a larger super space that you're playing within. And this is what I did when I joined Britannia. I joined Britannia and I was the marketing head for Britannia Dairy. We had just launched this new milkshake brand called Winky Cow. And I knew we were on tight budgets. There's not much money to be made in dairy, right? Because milk is finally ingredient cost, as large as cost, it's very difficult to make money. So I had limited budgets and I need to scale this brand. I eventually scaled it by 5x in the 3 years that I worked on it, right? But I did not fuel the categories growth. I did advertising for sure. But I actually went out there and understood what was at the core of different kinds of consumers. So I traveled to the north, went to Delhi, I went to Amritsar, and I realized there's this ritual when we go to a mithai shop, when you go to a Haldiram, so when you go to any other mithai shop, what do? First, you have something really sweet. So you have, say, chamcham, maybe you have a rasgulla. Then you have something very salty. You might have a chole bhature, you might have a samosa. And then you wash it down with this watery badam milk. So this watery badam milk that you have is what is relevant in the north, largely during summers. And that's why Amul Cool sells so well there. So if I'm waiting down and I need to take an Amul Cool, I need to provide a better product than Amul Cool, which fits in the same occasion, right? So hence I launched these new packs of Kise and Badam at a lower price point with a different recipe. Then I went south, and that's where I had my big success because I had Kevin sitting there with a very large market in Tamil Nadu. So why was Kevin so large? The reason why Kevin was so large is because South did not have milk till about a generation back, right? The white revolution came late to the south of the country. Mothers had grown up having horlicks and water. They could not convince their children to have milk. And hence they leaned on the milk parlors outside. A really thick, melted ice cream like texture of a Kevin's appealed to them. And that's what they considered healthy. So they would stock in the fridge. In the morning it would be a regular glass of milk. In the evening they will offer a chocolate or a vanilla milkshake. So I said, now if my bundle can tell the mom, you know what? Your kids are going to enjoy this more than the other way. I have the same texture, I have the same viscosity, I have the same product adhesion, maybe even better. But my brand is fun. Why don't you just replace your old brand with mine? And that's what I did. We stole a lot of market share. Right? But you understand, the insights might be similar. The approach changes. The approach changes as to how do you really deploy your assets. Right? And for me, the biggest examples of steal share are actually two other brands that I really love. And one of them is Fog. What's Fog done? I mean, if you look at the ads of Fog versus those of Axe, they're actually uninspiring. They're not exciting ads. They did it because, my second learning, The first learning being consumers don't care about brands. The second learning is consumers don't care about categories either, or at least it's the definition that we use, right? So what's our definition of deodorants? There are these black colored cans, right? Often used by men in hostels. They can skip a day's bath if they can just use enough spray. And Axe tells them that there will be candy for the opposite sex. They don't have to do too much. And then on the other side, you have perfume. Yeah, it can potentially bankrupt a household when an anniversary is coming up, right? Could be 2,000 bucks, could be 20,000, could be 2 lakhs. They are very different categories, right? There's nothing common between the two. I mean, you can see the glass bottles and the can there. Now, what Fog did is very simple. They took some perfume and put it inside a deodorant can. And they launched the simple proposition of liquid, not gas. And that's the only thing that an axe could not replicate because it could demolish their business model or their gross margins. Right? And that's again, like I said, how steal share is done. You play within the same category. Do not have to convince a non-user. You do not have to tell anybody to try it again. You just have to reinforce this simple value proposition: liquid, not gas. Who else has done it? Yeah, I think Bingo has done a great job with Mad Angles. And this then is your steal share task, right? Your steal share task talks to existing category users. It offers a slightly different benefit. It's a challenge of brand strategy, right? And you have to know that you have precious resources which you have to deploy them well. And you have to be careful because innovation is not necessarily a runaway successes. So you have to be really, really deep into what your consumer is thinking and doing and why they will eventually shift. Yeah? But as you navigate this journey, what I have realized is this is the most fundamental question that every brand, business, or marketer needs to ask. If you're a startup founder, if you're a business owner, you might be running a foundation. Unless you're clear, what is it that you're in for? What are your values? Is your value to grow a category, make it larger? Then you will have the mind and the metal to put in those investments to really make it work so that everybody benefits. Or are you on a shoestring budget? Do you have limited money at your disposal? You can do good product innovation, maybe offer higher value, but you are playing and talking to the converted, right? And that's skill share. And believe me, if you can get that first question right, I would say well begun is half done, and you will be on your way. That's perfect. Thank you, folks.